أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تكونوا كالذين آذوا موسى فبرأه الله مما قالوا وكان عند الله وجيها.
Welcome to Innovation Somalia. I am your host, Abdul Ali. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio. I'm really excited. I have Mowlid Aden. Mowlid, welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell me about your middle school days.
So yeah, I migrated here, and alhamdulillah, I spoke English when I came here.
Okay.
In 2005, we came here. 2006, I moved to Ohio. So I spoke English. Maybe perhaps people were speaking way faster because I had a British accent and I spoke very slowly.
Oh, you came from in England?
No, I came from Uganda.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Because we went to school then, they taught us English.
Okay. Yeah. In Uganda and Kenya, I think it's a little bit more British. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's colonized. But we came here and we spoke English. So it was a little bit of a struggle getting used to the whole environment. Coming to a brand new country, and everybody's just everything's different.
Culture shock.
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't know what's the norm here or anything like that. Everybody's just looking at you like, what's wrong with this weird guy? Why is he quiet? Why is he sitting by himself? Why is this all that? And I never was one to please other people's expectations, anything like that. So I always set for myself like what I needed, my own expectations for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing growing up I've always understood. Set expectations for yourself, not other people's expectations. So from a young age, I told myself, don't worry about these people. Because sometimes what happens is we're concerned, what does this person think of me?
Right.
They're concerned about the same thing. So that doesn't give room for development. So it kind of puts more stress on a person. So middle school was very tough for me. And that's towards the ending of middle school, that's when I started understanding 100% what everybody is saying, everybody's mentioning. So towards high school, that's when things started opening up, and I'm like, okay, now I understand this teacher 100%.
Yeah.
And I can understand the content, I can understand everything. So that's when opportunities started opening up, and going from high school.
So you started with law.
law.
Hi.
Okay. We learned with a very old system.
Okay. Yes.
And a lot of people often forget that system might not work here.
No, it doesn't work here. It doesn't work here. And also there used to be a discipline that used to go along with that.
Yes.
That also might not work.
Cannot be forgotten.
It cannot be forgotten. But I think that shaped us though. That shaped certainly for me. I wasn't looking for it, but oftentimes, subah. And when if you miss your ayat and if you miss your part of it, you definitely get the end of the stick. That's for sure. But those are the memories that last for you, though. So when you really wanted to memorize the Quran and you started, was it after high school that you really invested in?
Put focus onto, absolutely. I was after high school, because before that is at that stage where you're like, okay, I'm being forced to go to dsc, and I don't want to, it's, but the environment, the friends you're with, that shapes what kind of person you are.
Absolutely.
As our Prophet mentioned.
Absolutely.
So the person the person needs to have good influence. So I had good friends, so that we were at the Masjid together and helping each other, staying in the Masjid and learning. So within that 1 year, I already knew Hingad 100%. So I was memorizing the Quran. So reaching halfway of it within 1 year time frame, and that's when I started teaching the younger ones, how to Hingad, how to do it, how to read the Arabic language slowly. So that's when I started teaching basically, and so since then it's been ongoing until now.
Okay. So at what point did you become Hafid?
At one point, that was around 2014.
So how long was it ago when you really started to the completion of the memorization?
The completion of the memorization for the whole Quran, it took around not 1 year but 5 years.
Okay.
It was a 5-year journey. So it took me 5 years, and again, that's on my end, because it's all about the efforts you put in.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
It's all about the efforts you put in. My efforts wasn't 100%, memorizing it 100%, because that was the main goal that I had. But getting there was, it takes time, and everybody has a different method. Nowadays, what we do, we just we bring the students in, and we asking them to memorize it. But there is something more important than that, which is understanding it. Because a lot of people, they memorize and then they end up, falling off. And what is the cause of this? It's not understanding what it truly means. A lot of people, they memorize the Quran, but they leave the religion. And we've had cases where people came up, they've been doing duksi their whole life, but they left Islam. So they say they want nothing to do with Islam. What is the cause of this? It's the nurturing, how they were nurtured to learn the Quran. The companions of the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they used to learn about Iman, then they would learn the Quran, and the Quran would increase them in Iman. We did the opposite for us. We started with memorizing the Quran. Then after you memorize the Quran, later you can learn the deen if you want.
Yeah.
Which is, so we've diverted from the path that we were supposed to do.
Okay.
So it's important for the person to understand the meaning of the religion. What is the purpose? Why he's learning? Why is he learning? What is he gaining from this? And what is it that he's learning? Once you have knowledge of the value of what you're learning, then you'll value it.
What method do you guys use, or do you use now to teach kids?
Honestly, I try to make sure that it's minimum memorization and maximum understanding.
Okay.
Because I want them to understand about Islam.
Okay.
Because oftentimes they go to the schools or they go some other places where there's a lot of contradictory ideologies that are given and sort of things. And I had students, for example, come up to me and say, I was in school and teacher gave me an exam and said Prophet Muhammad died at the age of 65. And I said, and I crossed it wrong, and I 63, and I was sent to the office, and I'm like, okay. So these sort of things, these youths, they have a lot of questions, and there's a lot of misconceptions that are being fed to them. So it's our responsibility to make sure that all of that is taken out with proper education, with proper nurturing, and making sure that we answer all of their questions in a manner that has wisdom and knowledge, and not just don't ask those sort of questions.
Yeah.
Don't ask those questions. Do not repress it. Let them express it, but answer it in a way. If you can't answer it, which is no problem.
Right.
Nobody's perfect. Nobody has attained all knowledge. Find somebody else who can, someone who's qualified to do so. So and this is the method I would advise everybody and all the listeners, or even all of our community Muslim organization, to focus on giving the students understanding of the religion and teaching them why it's important. Because this really kind of shifts to how my academic success was built. It was like, because the Masjid was the first rehab center, basically, and for the whole community, actually, it is. So it was more like after learning the Quran, being part of the community, leading salah, giving talks, started giving khutbahs, then you gain the confidence for public speaking, for community leadership, for all of these, things come into play.
They're interconnected.
100%. Somebody will say, "Oh, I'm trying to be successful." They cut off the entire religion. They cut off the whole, but they don't understand that success comes from the one who grants success.
Absolutely.
So if you're not seeking it from there, you're doing the opposite.
Staying away from it.
Yeah. And it's not getting you anywhere closer to success.
You brought up a good point where if you don't know something, you should go find somebody that is qualified to answer those questions, right? And that goes for the entire community, really, if you think about it. 100%. Oftentimes that somebody will take the lead or will express some things that basically learn on the job process per way, right? So we want to be able to, and that's how community or any organization gets ahead, right? So if you don't allow your best people up front, or to take the lead, or to make changes, you're doing nothing but holding them back, right?
100%.
So that's a very good point. And when kids really ask questions or deep questions, sometimes the kids will ask questions that you be like, I don't know how to answer. Your own kids will. My own kids sometimes do.
and that is the important thing for the parent or for the educator to understand, is they themselves have to control their emotions.
Right.
Because when a person asks a question, I've had students asking me the most obnoxious questions.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I keep my ground.
You keep it cool.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's a very good question.
Yeah.
Can we do more research about it?
Yeah.
if you don't know, say we'll do more research about it.
Yeah.
And I've had cases where I said I'll do research and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
And you get back to them.
And you get back to them and you answer the question in a timely manner, in a professional way. Not say, okay, I'll see you tomorrow, 5 p.m. and then you end up not showing up and this person had a hope so.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's important.
Absolutely. You spend some time with kids. You get to see them in their environment, their creative side of it. My 5-year-old, sometimes she thinks that she's smarter than me and her mom. So oftentimes when you catch her doing something, you'll be like, "Oh, I was experimenting," Going forward, do you think that this method where, hey, understand first, then memorize a little bit later, how are they responding to that?
They are responding to it very well because they're the ones that right now are coming to us. When are we going to have class?
Right. MashaAllah.
When's the next Islamic studies class?
MashaAllah.
So they're the ones that are coming up with these. They want to. The parents are no longer driving it. It's the students that are driving the parents now.
MashaAllah.
When are we going back to 𝐷𝐿𝐒? I've had students throughout this pandemic. I've had students come to me and say, "When's 𝐷𝐿𝐒 going to start?" And it breaks my heart, but I have to say soon.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, soon we have to. So they're the ones who are really wanting to learn the religion now. Because why? You've taken that stress out of the way.
Right.
You're making them memorize. To them, this is just scripture written in different language that I'm memorizing. I don't understand. And this is really for example, you've been given a huge curriculum and you've been told memorize A to Z. You don't understand anything. As an adult, it is frustrating and difficult for you as well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
100%. So we're putting this on our children. We're putting this on the kids. Do this.
Absolutely. Now, as a community, we need to recognize those too, right?
100%.
Those especially when you're a single mother or single dad for that matter, because mom's not here, or quite the opposite the other way. So there's a lot that they have to go through to provide for their kids.
100%.
The language itself, it's a huge burden on them. Now the community is getting, as far as the population goes, is growing, right? So, but think about this: when when you came, the Somali community, maybe 1/3 of what it is right now. Back then, maybe less than that too, if you think about it. Maybe about 10,000, right, comparing to 60,000. What? So imagine if that person being say, okay, hey, 𝐂𝐍𝐉𝐎𝐘 in Columbus. So the chances of that working with another Somali person is slim to none, right? So you go to warehouse or you go to other places and you can see the challenges. As a result, we see the kids and some of them, how they turn out. Not to mention that the neighborhood that, we start with. So, that's where I feel like the community, but the youth now we have versus the youth we started with. So now how do you see the ones that you are teaching them on a very young age? How do you see the next 5, 6, 7, 10, how, as far as how they're going to turn out, per se?
I have no doubt that I've seen this gradually throughout time. When you grow up with the same youth that you've mentored from a young age, you understand. For those who listened, obviously, that you see they're successful. Not only in academic perspective, but rather also from the deen perspective. You see them they're continuing learning and they're developing.
I think what should really help is to measure the ones that end up being a success in terms of staying within the religion, kind of sort of not getting off the track, sort of being in a good community, contribute to the community rather than the ones that go off. I think that would be really stats to really see.
Definitely. Even I would like to see that too.
Yeah. I think that's something that we really need to look into.
We need to honestly, track our progress as a community-wise. What worked for us, what steps do we need to take, and work together, honestly, in moving forward, analyzing, every organization that's working on betterment of the youth and seeing, okay, how can we help one another? don't get me wrong, there's a lot of organizations that are work together on trying to uplift the youth, motivating them, but they're not working together. So that is, that itself, puts an obstacle in front of everybody.
Right.
So how do they need to come together and to understand that they need to focus on one goal, on moving forward. That's something that's definitely needed.
So early on, we were talking about how, some kids, when they graduate from college, they're asking, what's next? Before, it used to be, when you graduate from high school, what now? So that just could show you that, one, our population is growing. Two, the age of our community, especially the youngsters, actually there are more youngsters than comparing to the older people. And the challenge that is having them an avenue for them to take. There's a lot of programs that we talked about, but I feel like the best program could easily come through Masjid.
Absolutely, it's up to the previous generation to pave the way for the next one. And the choices what we do.
But if that doesn't happen,
and then they will pave their own path.
Okay.
And they have done so.
And I think that's where we are right now.
That's where we are.
That's where we are right now. Yeah.
They have done so, and now we're seeing the consequences of the path that they have paved for themselves.
Yeah.
Because we didn't hold down, the fort and the mantle and show them, okay, this is the way.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, and I agree with that poet as well, that the Masjid is the first place. It should be able to provide, that safe house, as you mentioned, because that's what it is supposed to be.
Right.
It's supposed to be a safe house for the person's religion, his spiritual growth, as well as, as a personal development. So what programs do we do? And I honestly believe every masjid should be able to host or bring, a speaker or expert speaker on subject of emotional intelligence or subject of, personal development, a psychiatrist or a therapist or something. Because Allah knows everybody, a lot of people need it. We all need it. We all need it. Because it's...
We all do.
Yeah, we all do. So it's having a chance to talk to someone and, and go, talk about, what is the issue? What can be done, how to move forward from there. And that's honestly the path that I've taken so far into how to better the youth, giving them that communication line. If you have any issues, let's talk about it. Let's sit down and talk about it. So imagine when they call you 3 a.m., hey, this is what happened to me right now. I don't want to do anything really crazy because right now my blood is boiling, and really, I'm trying to avoid doing something really, really bad right now. So what do you advise? Having to talk to someone. Okay.
Did that happen?
Multiple occasions. 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you're picking up that call, okay. And as a human being, you're really tired. You really don't want to answer that phone call. But, knowing that, this person has honestly gone out of their way. They didn't have to call you. They didn't have to at all call you, but they did at the moment of need. So, if it was within your capability, then help them. Perhaps whatever you say or do at that moment defines what they become tomorrow or the choices that they make at that moment, because now they're consulting with you. And that's one of the rights of a Muslim person. Is if they ask for advice, you give it to them. So and having to understand and having that connection with them honestly helps and shapes what kind of person that person becomes, and how, they respond to the negatives that come or the obstacles that come, and helping them realize that, every obstacle is a trial, and every trial you have to understand you're being tested. So, and what's being tested is your patience, and the duration of your patience, the quality of your patience, and when you have even the times of good times, you're being tested for the gratitude of it. Are you going to be grateful, or are you not going to be grateful? So we have to keep them understanding constantly this topic. That way, they understand that whatever that comes through their way is going to only make them stronger if they're patient and if they go through it.
How can they prevent to get to that?
By seeking help at an earlier time, by having avenues to talk about these sort of things and try to seek knowledge. Again, proper resources and just having those things that honestly that shape is very, very important, and making sure that you seek the knowledge, you be patient, and because nowadays, as we talked about earlier, it's we want to help them, but at the same time we're chasing them away.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're like, all the youth in the streets, subhanallah, may Allah guide them. Allah guided them to the masjid. You chased them away.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful on that as well. It's a very, very, it's a sensitive situation.
Very sensitive, and it takes tremendous amount of discipline not to say the wrong thing when you see a youngster that who is at the masjid, but yet feel that they lost, feel that they don't belong there, but yet you just come with the criticism. You don't mean no harm. You really don't mean no harm, but the way you go about it, as we mentioned, as we talked about it, like on the positive side of it, but there is a large portion or youngsters that are doing well. They're going to college, graduating from college, going to grad school, above and that. Some are involved in politics within some of them are actually entrepreneurs. I've talked to multiple people who across the board that have done well for themselves, right? So I think the challenge that we're having right now, it is that earlier what I did mention that you can be what you can see, your own kind, right? Your own kind. If you don't see your own kind doing good, so I guess what I'm going with this is that we need to provide, as a whole community, we need to provide ways those that are getting off the track to kind of sort of find somebody that they can look into within their age group, right? 100%. That is doing good for themselves. So how do we bring those two together? I mean, and that's the challenge, right?
That's the challenge. And honestly, I've been working the community leader Hassan, on how do we get those youths who have achieved success or who are on the path towards success to come out and speak, and show, that try to mentor these young ones, and give them advice, and because a lot of the times what we see is we see the success of a person, but we don't see the trials and the difficulties they went through to build that success. People need to start sharing that. People need to start saying, okay, these are the trials I went through. Alhamdulillah, Allah aided me to pass through them. Khair, and then I advise you guys, make sure one thing I learned from this is don't go that path. Go this path instead.
Yes.
Giving them that guidance, giving them that, again, it's important to go to qualified people, because I've had youth come up to me and say, 6 people advised me on this and that. Everybody will give you their opinion, but you as a person have to understand what is the expert opinion on this. Who's qualified to give his opinion? I've had most recently a student come to me mentioning, okay, I received advice, from this from one of our uncles within the community, and I refer to the ones older as uncles. So he said he gave me advice on how to seek knowledge, and I'm like, okay, did he seek knowledge? Is he a student of knowledge, or is he a sheikh? Or he's like, oh no, he has never sought knowledge. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, do you think it's would be wiser to ask advice on somebody who sought knowledge, who's been through it, who's seen the struggles, the good and the bad? Because sometimes they'll give you advice, say it's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's a trial. It's a difficulty. It comes with a lot of patience and discipline. It comes with discipline. So it requires expert.
Do you think we have the discipline ourselves? People that are in a position to help or guide the youngster one, that do we ourselves have the discipline to guide those kids?
Honestly, we need to learn. If we don't have them already, we need to learn how to have that discipline. We need to learn how to advise them. We need to learn how to show them, okay, because I've had a lot of scenarios where people said, okay, I want to mentor someone. I'm like, good, go ahead, mentor this person. And they mentored them, but at the same time they mentored them in good and bad. So having the discipline to differentiate what you need to say and what you don't need to share, that discipline is required 100%. And on the majority of the people, some of us, we lack this discipline. We want to give advice, we want to mentor. Everyone wants a little brother they can help out and go with them everywhere and stuff like that. But be careful, you're shaping this person's life. You're responsible tomorrow in front of Allah. So you have to advise them with good and khair. At the same time, you have to keep evil away from them as much as you can to the best of your ability. And so that's what's important. It's key. So we want all the people who have attained success, and all the listeners as well who've achieved, whether it's through the Masjid, whether it's academic wise, that you need to understand. Do not build a bridge. Do not build a barrier between dinti and success. Make sure you try to build a bridge. how do they collaborate with one another? Alhamdulillah, I've had a lot of skill sets that came from the masjid. Helping, teaching, talking to people, public speaking. I was horrible at it. My first khutbah was 2015, December 25th. I will not forget that date. Subhanallah, it's like it's like
you're shaking.
It was shaking. An elder came to me. I took the criticism. I'm like, he means good.
He means good. He means good.
Are you,
yeah.
Or are you giving us a khutbah? It's something to definitely. It's a learning curve and learning experience. Now I'm comfortable public speaking. That's why we had organization. We wanted to go to Dubai for the big launch. So it's okay. It's okay to let the students know. Go to the masjid, learn.
Right.
You will learn certain skill sets that are going to be crucial to your career moving forward.
Yeah. If somebody's out there wanting to take your steps to start, learning the Quran, investing their times, memorizing the Quran, what advice do you have them? What avenue do you advise them to go to?
Honestly, and first is to inspect your emotional state first. You as a because sometimes what blocks a person from honestly succeeding is the emotional state. Because sometimes there might have been a negative connotation to when you were younger learning the Quran. That blocks, it feels like a barrier. Because sometimes how we respond, because sometimes we're used to a lot of negatives coming in, so we end up building an emotional barrier to the point where we're not the ones that respond to a person, but it's the barrier that's responding to a person from a psychological perspective. So we need to understand, learn to forgive yourself. It's not your fault. Move forward, and learn that, okay, once you're emotionally stable, alhamdulillah, now start seeking knowledge with the proper intention. Sitting down with the proper people. Okay, who's qualified to teach you? Not everybody's qualified to teach. And not everybody who's qualified to teach can teach. So we have a challenge.
Right.
Yeah, but they have to complete one another. They have to work together on this.
Right.
The one who has the knowledge and the one who is able to teach. Because I've seen people who are very knowledgeable, but when it comes to teaching, subhanallah, I'm like, we need to do something. And I've seen people that are teaching. They're very, very good. But sometimes, like if you don't seek the knowledge and you don't learn the knowledge, somebody will bring you dirt, you're going to think it's gold.
That's right. Teaching is skills.
It's a skill itself. And people think, like things are going to work out as they used to do back home. It's also funny, so just say something. It doesn't work like that. It's actual skill. You need to understand. And people ask me often, like, as a teacher, what do you do with your students? I analyze all of them. I don't teach all of them the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes they're autistic. Sometimes something you don't know what this person has.
Yeah.
So you have to understand the student, analyze him. Okay. What is his strengths? What are his weaknesses? And you move further. So for a person, who's seeking the knowledge, I advise them, make sure the intention is clear, and make sure, you're seeking the knowledge for the right reasons, as well as taking it from the proper people as well, people who understand the religion, and making sure that whatever you learn has to be applied. If it is not applied, there is no point in you seeking knowledge, and a lot of people, they seek it, just they hear it, it's like, okay, I heard this hadith, okay, mashallah. What are you going to do with it? Learn to apply the hadith, practical aspect of it. Somebody's not going to forget how to do ruku' or sujood. They've been practicing it for a long time.
Yeah.
Knowledge is practice, as well as from academic perspective as well. A lot of people, I've seen people come to me like, "Oh, aren't you? I want to go to college. I just want to finish quickly." I'm like, "Are you going to college to actually learn the subject? To actually learn for it to be better?" Because I have seen a lot of situations where people graduate from college, they're like, I've been sitting at home for 2 years. I have a degree, but I don't have a job. The biggest problem is thinking that the degree is going to get you a job. No, it doesn't work like that. What skill, what value do you have to offer to the table? Companies, they don't care about your paper. They care about you as a person, what value you have. Any company can train you in a skill aspect, but soft skills, that's all you. If you don't, and this is something we need to teach our people. So I had one of the elders, may Allah reward him, we're talking about emotional intelligence at one point. And I'm like, Allah musta'an. Because it's like we put a barrier there.
Right. That is the stigma that goes along with that when you talk about emotional intelligence. And it's not And it doesn't make you da'if either.
It does not.
That is how people think. Yeah, it only makes you stronger. And, it flourishes you, really. If you get, whatever that is on your mind or whatever that's on your chest, off your chest, and talk it out of it, engage a conversation, get your point across, let others, inject some things that, that you didn't know before. That will only make you a better person.
100%. Our biggest problem, honestly, thinking that we know everything.
Yeah.
And we know everything. And that's a huge reset.
Yeah.
To our success, honestly, it's not good.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's where people back home are facing too. I mean, it's very challenging to go through what we as a country went through. And come out on the other end. Some people think that right now we are. I mean, we're nowhere near where we need to be. Let's just say that, right? Some people say that we're crawling. We're not crawling. We're still laying down. We're on tummy time, if you understand that concept.
100%.
We're trying to make our back muscles a little bit stronger so we can learn how to crawl. It's a long way to go. If we talk about things will get better.
100%. And this is the thing. There are certain things that need to be spoken about.
Yeah.
We're not talking about these topics. So that's the thing. We need to understand. Like, we need to have these sort of discussions. Some people might like the things that's going to be said. Some people might not like it. Yeah. But at the same time, what's better for our development?
Right.
What's better for our moving forward.
That's right.
So these are sort of things we need to understand as well. And as you mentioned earlier, having qualified people at the front line.
Mm-hmm.
Because understanding that, okay, this person's not qualified for the position, persisting them to be there or to stay in the front lines, it's like...
It does no good.
It does not. You're breaking the back of the community.
Yeah.
You're not really helping the community. So, having leaders to understand this sort of thing, they need to understand this.
Yeah.
They need to understand this because you have to have qualified people moving forward and aiding the entire community and leading them. It's
like, how do you say this? It's like, when you put in your good people up front, you become a competitive, but if you don't put your people up front, you don't become competitive, right? It's like you are going with the racket when there's a soccer soccer games taking place. Do you understand? Yeah. So it's not a tennis, it's a soccer game, or vice versa. So you are going with the wrong people, and let's say that. So and that decreases your visibility, efforts, and everything. Yeah.
Where this community needs to be and. What needs to be done is it all depends on we're the ones that are holding ourselves back.
Right.
100%. Yeah. We're holding
individual
too.
Yeah.
100%. Every family needs to understand that they are a building block of this community.
Yeah.
And maybe if you don't see the support going on, perhaps try knocking the next door.
Yeah.
And if one person says no, go to the next door. I've had a young man come to me a couple of weeks ago. He started his own IT managed services. He's 19 years old.
MashaAllah.
Yes, MashaAllah. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
Amongst one of the youths that we mentored at a young age.
Yeah.
So he came up to me and he mentioned, I was advising him, go to the Somali community.
Mm-hmm.
Start knocking on every business's door.
Yeah.
You need your IT managed services?
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, exactly.
And go to the people. Start knocking on them. And even if one says no, 3 say no, 5 say no, don't worry about them. Move on to the next restaurant, move on to the next Somali business. Slowly.
1 yes outweighs million no's.
Yes, 100%.
That is the best way to go about it. It's the best experience knocking on people's door because you never know what you're going to get. 100%. And the best entrepreneurs in this whole wide world, they love to do that. And you should be in an avenue for every youngster that is out there who wants to start something, knock on people's door. You never know who 100%. You're going to meet. Your life may change.
Honestly,
for the better.
He called me. He said, "Okay, let's have lunch," and this is what's intriguing is like after the 1 hour or an hour and a half conversation, he said, "Man, I was expecting you to be talking to me about the deen. I never expected you to give me business perspectives on how to run my organization and all of these things. Jazakallah khair."
MashaAllah.
And he's like, "I want you to train. Bring the other guys. I want you to tell them what you told me."
Yeah.
I told him, you're the CEO, that's your responsibility.
That's right.
You have the hardest job, which is me being a CEO of my own organization and stuff. The toughest job is you, because you have to pick the right team.
Right.
Are they trustworthy? Are they teachable? can they unlearn a skill and then relearn something?
Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah.
you know, and we need to implement this into our community and helping them understand this.
Yeah. You know, you said the key word. Are you teachable? If you're not teachable, you're not worth anything. It comes down to that, really, if you think about
100%.
it. If you are not teachable, you're not going to get ahead in life. You have to be teachable. You have to be bendable. You have to be, you know, as other entrepreneurs will say, like, you have to eat the dirt.
Speaking of that, as bil-Aden, as human beings, you know, we're created from mud.
Yeah.
And clay can be molded into anything.
Yeah.
As a human being, you can be molded into anything.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, you know, what are the barriers that are stopping you from achieving your success.
Yeah.
You know, understanding them and working on how to fix those barriers and get them out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, don't just go head on with everything.
No.
But what the best, smartest way to go around, navigate through all those obstacles.
Absolutely.
Because maybe this obstacle was a boulder, you know, like a rock. You broke through it, but the next one is, platinum.
That is true.
So what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So you have to learn to navigate through all of these things.
You have to learn to navigate. I think what you're doing, it's a good stuff. I really admire it, especially the teaching part of the 𝐷𝐿𝐒, because that takes a tremendous amount of energy. I know that. A lot of patience. I know that. And you know, keep up the good work.
100%.
You know, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you're a busy person, so thank you so much for your time. I really enjoy talking to you.
Likewise.
Yeah. If you can recite for part of the Quran, I would really appreciate it. if that puts you on the spot, then by all means, thank you so much for your time. Yeah.
You can start.
Yeah.
Allahumma yasir. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تكونوا كالذين آذوا موسى فبرأه الله مما قالوا وكان عند الله وجيها. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. إنا عرضنا الأمانة على السماوات والأرض والجبال فأبين أن يحملنها وأشفقن منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. ليعذب الله المنافقين والمنافقات والمشركين والمشركات ويتوب الله على المؤمنين والمؤمنات وكان الله غفورا رحيما.
Alhamdulillah. I think this was meant to be. Thank you so much.
It's made by the best of planners. So
yes. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. Jazakallah.